For decades, the outer boundary of our solar system was described almost poetically. A bubble, a fading influence, a gradual thinning of the sun's reach into the darkness of the galaxy. Textbooks implied a soft transition like mist dissolving into night. Nothing abrupt, nothing dramatic, nothing worth headlines. Then Voyager 2 crossed it, and what it measured was not subtle. Plasma density did not slowly rise. It jumped. Radiation did not gently increase. It surged by roughly 70%. Temperature shifted sharply. Magnetic fields aligned in ways long-standing models did not predict. The solar system did not taper into interstellar space. It ended. The implications of that crossing were underestimated. The data was there. The measurements were precise. But the meaning behind them, the sharpness of the threshold, the strength of the shielding, the adaptive nature of the boundary, and the anomalies that followed, did not fully settle into public understanding. Voyager 2 did not deliver spectacle. It delivered corrections. And to understand what everyone ignored, we have to start with the moment it stepped through what scientists once believed was just a gradual fade. When Voyager 2 entered interstellar space, its instruments did not record a gentle transition. They recorded abrupt change. Plasma density shifted suddenly. Temperature readings altered almost immediately. Radiation levels spiked. The data showed that the spacecraft did not drift across a blur boundary. It passed through what scientists described as an invisible gate. One moment, it was clearly operating within the sun's magnetic and solar wind domain. Moments later, it was clearly beyond it. The increase in galactic cosmic rays was dramatic, approximately a 70% surge once outside the heliosphere. That surge was not ambiguous. It provided measurable confirmation that Voyager 2 had crossed from one well-defined region into another. Inside the heliosphere, the sun's magnetic field and solar wind dominate the particle environment. Outside, the galactic medium takes over. The contrast was immediate and undeniable. For years, models suggested that solar influence would gradually weaken into interstellar space. Instead, Voyager 2 revealed something more precise, more structured, more abrupt. The crossing resembled stepping from one room into another rather than walking down a long, fading hallway. The solar system did not dissolve into the galaxy. It transitioned. The Heliopause, the formal boundary separating solar wind from the interstellar medium, proved sharper than anticipated. Plasma density did not creep upward slowly. It jumped. Radiation intensified almost immediately. Temperature changes were abrupt rather than progressive. These were not subtle fluctuations lost in statistical noise. They were decisive environmental shifts marking a structured interface. Scientists compare the crossing to moving through an invisible membrane, not a solid wall, but a clearly defined zone shaped by magnetic fields and charged particle interactions. The data implied that the outer edge of our solar system behaves less like a mist and more like a defined frontier. The sun's influence does not gradually fade into irrelevance. It meets resistance, and that meeting point forms a boundary. For years, the idea of a sharp threshold was treated cautiously. Theoretical models leaned toward gradients and gradualism. Voyager 2 confirmed something different. The heliopause exists as a measurable structure transition, and that realization alone reshaped how scientists think about where the solar system truly ends. Once Voyager 2 crossed the heliopause and recorded the roughly 70% surge in galactic cosmic rays, the implication became unavoidable. The heliosphere is not merely a conceptual boundary marking the sun's influence. It functions as an active radiation shield. Inside that boundary, the solar wind and the sun's magnetic field interact continuously with incoming galactic particles, deflecting and modulating their intensity. Outside, the interstellar environment reveals its true energetic character. The contrast between the two regions was immediate and measurable, demonstrating that the inner solar system exists under a protective envelope that reduces exposure to high-energy galactic radiation. For decades, scientists described the heliosphere as a bubble surrounding the sun. Voyager 2's data suggested something more purposeful. A bubble implies passive containment. A shield implies active defense. The difference is subtle linguistically, but profound physically. The reduction in cosmic ray intensity inside the heliosphere, compared with the sharp rise beyond it, showed that the sun's magnetic domain performs a filtering function. It does not merely exist. It interacts. The 70% increase beyond the boundary confirmed that Earth and the inner planets reside within a moderated radiation environment shaped by the solar wind's outward pressure against the interstellar medium. Voyager 2 did not speculate about this shielding role. It measured it. One of the most unexpected observations at the boundary involved magnetic field alignment. Prior models anticipated a more chaotic transition as Voyager 2 moved from solar-dominated space into the galactic environment. Scientists expected a significant shift in magnetic field direction, a turbulent handoff between two competing domains. Instead, the data revealed that the solar magnetic field and the galactic magnetic field were almost perfectly aligned at the Heliopause. This near alignment was surprising because it suggested structural coherence rather than disorder. Rather than colliding violently, the magnetic fields intersected in a way that appeared organized. At the same time, the heliosphere was shown not to be symmetrical or static. Its shape shifts under the influence of solar output and interstellar pressure, adapting over time to changing conditions. Yet even within this dynamism, its shielding function remained evident. The radiation contrast before and after the crossing confirmed that regardless of its exact shape or orientation, the heliosphere performs a consistent protective role. Voyager 2 did not simply confirm that a boundary exists. It demonstrated that the boundary has function. It filters, it moderates, it shields, and in doing so, it revealed that the sun's influence extends beyond illumination and gravity into something more structurally significant, a magnetic defense interacting continuously with the galaxy beyond. One of the most overlooked yet revealing details in Voyager's interstellar journey lies in the difference between the two spacecraft. Voyager 1 crossed the Heliopause at approximately 121 astronomical units from the Sun, while Voyager 2 crossed at roughly 119 astronomical units. On a cosmic scale, 2 astronomical units may seem modest, but in heliophysics, this difference is significant. It demonstrates that the heliosphere is not a perfectly spherical bubble centered uniformly around the Sun. If it were symmetrical and static, both spacecraft would have encountered the boundary at nearly identical distances. They did not. This discrepancy revealed that the Heliopause flexes. The boundary shifts under the influence of the Sun's 11-year activity cycle. During periods of stronger solar output, the solar wind pushes outward more forcefully against the interstellar medium, expanding the heliosphere. During quieter solar phases, the pressure weakens and the heliosphere contracts. The crossing distances of Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 confirm that the edge of our solar system is not fixed in place. It expands and contracts over time, shaped by internal solar dynamics rather than existing as a rigid shell. The solar system, therefore, does not end at a static perimeter. It ends at a moving frontier governed by fluctuating solar activity and opposing galactic pressure. Voyager 2's crossing did not simply confirm the existence of a boundary. It demonstrated that the boundary breathes. Further analysis of Voyager data suggested that the heliosphere may not even resemble a simple sphere. The document references models proposing a shape more akin to a comet or a teardrop, elongated in the direction opposite the Sun's motion through the galaxy. Interstellar gas and galactic pressure compress the front-facing side, while stretching the trailing region into a long tail. This asymmetry reinforces the idea that the heliosphere is constantly shaped by external forces rather than maintaining a uniform geometry. Within this structure, Voyager measurements indicated abrupt transitions between layers near the boundary rather than a single smooth gradient. Plasma and magnetic fluctuations suggested the presence of structural zones or shells where solar wind particles interact with a partially ionized interstellar medium. These interactions create layered regions of varying density and electromagnetic behavior, further emphasizing that the heliopause is not a simple dividing line, but a complex interface. Solar wind pushes outward. Interstellar gas pushes inward. Magnetic fields align, distort, and reshape the boundary continuously. The heliosphere is not a static edge fading quietly into space. It is a dynamic system negotiating with its surroundings at every moment. And for years, that adaptability, that living responsive quality of the boundary was underestimated. In 2019, long after Voyager 2 had crossed the heliopause and confirmed the sharpness of the solar system's boundary, the spacecraft experienced a communication blackout that immediately drew attention. Contact was temporarily lost after an anomaly triggered an autonomous restart. The probe effectively reset itself, an action designed to protect onboard systems in the event of irregular conditions. Communication was later restored, and technically the event was resolved. Aging hardware operating in an increasingly harsh radiation environment made occasional system interruptions plausible. But context matters. The blackout occurred beyond the heliopause in a region already defined by abrupt radiation surges and electromagnetic variability. The 70% increase in galactic cosmic rays had confirmed that Voyager 2 was operating in a significantly more energetic environment than before. Around the period of the blackout, unexplained electromagnetic peaks were detected. These spikes were not conclusively linked to the restart, yet their presence added complexity to the event. The interstellar medium beyond the heliosphere was not only stronger in radiation intensity, it exhibited concentrated zones of variability. Voyager 2's temporary silence did not confirm anything extraordinary. It did, however, underscore the vulnerability of a decades-old spacecraft navigating a dynamic and partially ionized frontier. The blackout was explained technically, but the environment in which it occurred remained notable. Differences between Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 data further reinforced that the heliopause is not uniform. Radiation concentrations appeared more intense in some regions than others. Plasma transitions varied slightly between the two spacecraft. These discrepancies suggested localized structural variations or pressure imbalances along the boundary. The heliosphere, already shown to be adaptive and layered, appeared asymmetrical as well. Speculation inevitably followed, not because of sensational claims, but because the structure of the boundary proved more organized than previously assumed. The document does not endorse extraordinary interpretations, yet it acknowledges the public imagination that emerged around the idea of the heliopause acting as a kind of checkpoint, not monitored, not artificial, but functioning as a highly structured filtering interface. Voyager carries the golden record, a symbolic message from Earth. While NASA dismissed notions of sentinels or watchers, the sharpness of the boundary, the magnetic alignment, the radiation surge, the structural asymmetry, and the 2019 blackout combined to create a subtle sense that the frontier had been underestimated. Voyager 2 did not uncover alien civilizations. It transmitted measurements. But those measurements revealed that the edge of our solar system is not a vague fade into interstellar darkness. It is a structured, shifting, radiation-modulating interface interacting continuously with galactic forces. The blackout did not prove mystery. The asymmetry did not confirm speculation. Yet together they reinforced one undeniable conclusion. The heliosphere is far more organized, reactive, and complex than models once suggested. And for years that complexity was overlooked. For years the heliosphere was treated almost like a diagram in a textbook, a bubble drawn around the sun, a soft boundary where solar influence gradually dissolved into the wider galaxy. Something theoretical, something abstract, something distant enough that it felt almost poetic rather than physical. Voyager 2 proved otherwise. When it crossed the heliopause, the data did not whisper. Plasma density did not drift upward slowly. It jumped. Galactic cosmic rays did not creep in gently. They surged by roughly 70%. Temperature shifted abruptly. Magnetic alignment between the solar and galactic fields revealed coherence, where turbulence had been expected. The transition was not gradual. It was sharp, and that sharpness carried meaning. It meant the solar system does not fade into interstellar space. It ends. It meets resistance. It forms a structured interface shaped by magnetic fields and charged particle flows. The heliosphere is not just a boundary marking the sun's influence. It functions as a shield. Inside it, radiation is measurably suppressed. Outside it, the galactic environment becomes harsher and more energetic. The contrast confirmed that Earth and the inner planets exist within a moderated radiation envelope created by solar wind and magnetic pressure. Even more revealing, that boundary is not fixed. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 crossed at different distances, approximately 121 and 119 astronomical units, demonstrating that the heliosphere expands and contracts with the sun's 11-year activity cycle. It may resemble a comet or teardrop rather than a sphere, compressed by galactic pressure at the front and stretched at the tail. It contains layers, zones, structured transitions. It responds. And in 2019, when Voyager 2 briefly went silent after an autonomous restart in that high-radiation environment, the event served as a reminder that this frontier is not passive. Electromagnetic variability, asymmetries between spacecraft data, localized radiation concentrations. None of these confirmed extraordinary claims, but together they reinforced something more grounded and more important. The edge of our solar system is dynamic, organized, and complex. Voyager 2 did not deliver spectacle. It delivered correction. For years, the sharpness of the Heliopause, the strength of its shielding function, and the adaptability of its structure were underestimated. We imagined a gradual fade into darkness. Voyager showed us a defined, reactive interface interacting continuously with the galaxy beyond. The boundary between us and interstellar space is not fog. It is structure. And that realization changes how we think about planetary protection, deep space travel, and even habitability. Because if the heliosphere truly functions as a magnetic shield, then life on Earth exists within a cosmic buffer that we are only beginning to understand. Voyager 2 is still out there, drifting farther into interstellar space, transmitting faint data through a harsher environment than the one it left behind. It did not shout its discovery. It did not announce revolution. It simply measured. And in those measurements was something humanity overlooked for years. The edge of our world is real, structured, and alive with interaction. If you want to keep exploring the frontiers that quietly reshape our understanding of space, the data that forces us to rethink where our solar system truly ends, stay with us. Because sometimes the most profound discoveries are not the loudest ones. They're the ones we almost ignored. I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.